Welcome to the People's Guild with me, Wascal, and my co-host, B Jangles.
We're a couple of Splinterlanders that love exploring all things Praetoria with a wide variety of guests from all across the community and Splinterlands universe.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Okay, well, welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode, and another wonderful guest. We are bringing back the founding father of the People's Guild fan club. He was the first to hop on the bandwagon for the podcast. Always been a great supporter, and I think he was our first subscriber for a long time on Spotify. And we had him on. Geez, I guess it was 7-8 months ago at this point. We've obviously had a lot happen since then in the game, and there's plenty to catch up on. We're very excited to welcome back to the show. We've got the one and only Hepthorn stepping in for today's episode. So welcome back, Hep. Good to see you, man.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. Chiang Kwai Lo. It's the year of the rabbit. Wascal, how do you feel about it being the year of the rabbit? Are you excited for it to be the year of it's your year, man?
I've been doing nothing but munching and carrots.
I love it. No, thanks, guys. Yeah. No, it's great to be back, man. It's great to be back.
Great to have you, man. How have you been feeling, or how are you feeling about the game at the moment? Like, we got these, the big news drops with the soulbound reward cards. How are you feeling about those, or how were you feeling initially about them, and how are you feeling now?
Yeah, it's been a lot. The game, I think it's been great. Been having a lot of fun. My last appearance, we kind of ended it with me saying that, I just kind of, so much I felt like had just happened then, and I was like, I just kind of want, it to kind of slow down for a little bit and just focus on building up my Chaos Legion deck, which I still don't even have, maxed out to gold level for, especially Fire Splinter. I've kind of abandoned the Fire Splinter in search of bigger prizes. But yeah, and then after that, it's like they heard that and they decided to do the exact opposite. And we had, Tower Defense and Rooney and Lux Vega and just like everything. Oh, it was so much at once. I think it kind of became overwhelming for a little bit there. I kind of just decided to kind of maybe take a little bit step back from a lot of the other, DeFi angle of and investment angle of it, and just to kind of focus more on just playing the game and just focus on building up my deck a little bit here and there. And that's been really, really good for me. I've really, really, been enjoying playing it. I think, listening to the podcast, I've now found out that I am probably the only person still playing ranked battles, just on a regular basis. It's been interesting. Yeah. And that's kind of disheartening to hear that, I guess, I'm just out here by myself, like John Henry, which is a very kind of obscure American reference, who is a railroad guy who fought the steam engine to build through a tunnel. Or sometimes I feel like do you guys listen to Flaming Lips at all?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Oh yeah, I know that album Yoshimi versus the Pink Robots, and that's kind of like the soundtrack of my Splinterlands life these days, as I'm just out here trying to not let these evil robots win, just trying to protect the city, my city in Praetoria, against all the robots. So great album. Check it out if you don't know it.
Yeah, I was actually just listening to Do You Realize is one of my favorite tracks of all time. And those first couple of Flaming Lips albums are next level. So good. So I think we've just landed on
I had a feeling you would be into it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think we've just landed on a new nickname for you, Hep. Yoshimi. Welcome to the podcast, Yoshimi.
Yeah.
Man. So you mentioned that Splinterlands did the complete opposite of taking a little bit of a low period. And I feel like things are really clicking with the dev team, with the ideas, with what is in the immediate future, and we've seen some pretty big rollouts in the last couple of weeks. So not only the soulbound reward cards, which aren't even in the game yet, but also the advent of 3 rule sets. I would love to get your thoughts on that, um, and player proposals. Both of those things I think are huge for the game, huge for the community. You choose which do you want to talk about first, and what do you reckon that the impact has been?
So, all right, let's go. We can go into the new rule sets. It's I when I first heard about it, I thought it would be good. Was excited just for that change. Like, oh, I felt like I was in a really good groove with the two. I know when you had, Unit Master on and he was talking about having the different levels where like a level one play, level two play. Well, I could get to level one and level two pretty quickly. Just, looking at the rule set, looking at, my opponents, past teams, kind of trying to see, what he's been playing, like where could I get to, where could I find a wrinkle, and this was like I was kind of like, oh, well, this will be a nice little change. The last couple of days, it's been a little tough. I just feel like it's just takes a little bit longer. I'm really not having like that automatic like, oh, I know I want to do this splinter with this rule set, or I know I'm going to be here and let me figure out the best team for this. It's been kind of tough, and I was actually in that recent Scarred Hand tournament, and I did the first round with the two rule sets, and then the second round came and there's like three rule set time. I was like, kind of had just jumped in only after playing like a few matches to kind of warm up to three rule sets. I was like, oh, I can do this. I set my teams. I was like, oh, this did not go well. I actually had, I had I had actually done pretty well in the first round. I had gone 11-0 in the first round. I had some luck with I did two or three people, some fleas. But then I think I went 7-6 in the second round. Just it was tough. The Little League, the Rise of the Commons, Lost Legendaries, those are nice wrinkles to have thrown into the game. But I feel like those are coming up in almost every match now. It just gives another option of that where you're going to get a broken arrow, you're going to get odds or evens. Like there's always going to be a big chunk of the cards that you can't use. And I've kind of been, I've only been playing it for a day now, but it's kind of been a little frustrating to kind of have that be more limited. You have all these cards, you like to play with the cards. I love getting better at small mana sets or niche rule sets, but it's felt a little restrictive, and I have to say my initial reaction is I haven't really enjoyed it. Maybe I'll get used to it, but just kind of off the bat, it seems like it's been kind of tough. So
Yeah, I wonder if it's just that, like when people begin something for the first time, like when I began started learning drums, and then my teacher would give me this new like a new like task to do, and like you start doing it, it's just like you want to move your right hand but your left leg just goes, and you want to move your left leg and your like left arm goes. It's just like your brain is just like trying to adjust to the rhythms. But I just wonder if it's just gonna take a little bit of time for us to get used to. But you do make a good point about it being limited, because sometimes I feel, when it's like that, um all monsters lose their abilities. It
yeah.
just that what the rule sets, of course you just got to adjust, but sometimes you just feel whoever's got the biggest attack is just gonna just win, right? It kind of feels like it could be that. Like we had a only magic rule set yesterday, so we just whoever in that instant, whoever comes with the biggest attack is just gonna win, right?
Yeah, and stuff like that, especially with the back to basics, it's like, who's got a Jotun, right? Like I kind of, I've been renting some cards, but I never really rent Jotun. I don't rent Llama, I don't rent Kitty. I just find, you know, I'm not successful. I've tried that before when I was down in silver level, and it just I'm not successful because I don't have the decks for it, right? And I don't play those cards. I find that I can be very successful against those cards in regular matches using like a Lux Vega, where you just have a little bit of shield, a little bit of speed. You can do just enough to get on top of someone. You can see it coming. You can play your now that we have the reflection shield. You can get your and now that we have more taunts, it's like you can get a taunt in, you can get a reflection shield off that, you can heal that, and you can get on those cards enough where you can win and be successful in winning. But when you back to basics, it's like, well, if you got a Yodin, it's like throwing those extra abilities in there. What are you gonna do? You get a poison match. It's going up against Llama. It's that's a tough one to beat. You can't get an affliction in. Yeah, so it's yeah, I think it definitely is something that I think I'll like it more once I get used to it. Absolutely, but yeah, it's when you have the game is more fun when you have more cards to play with, right? It's and I
Yeah.
get that those rule sets are in there for a little bit, or I mean for a reason, and it's good to see them every once in a while. But having and I don't know what they did with the eliminating. They eliminated. I guess they had categories of primary and secondary. And then they said, oh, well, now it's just kind of all a grab bag, and we're not going to have primary and secondary. And so I feel like those things are coming. I mean, this has been my experience from one day, but even just seeing like the law of averages, like with three, you're going to get a limiting rule set more often than with two. And I'd like to see it where in gold, I think so gold, it's 75% chance of three rule sets, 15% chance of two, 8% of one, and 2% chance of standard. Like I'd love to see that go down, have more of a balance between three and two, give that standard rule set, make that a little bit higher too, where it's just kind of like, hey, just go for it, go play your cards. Yeah, I mean, I was excited about the new rule sets about the all magic, all ranged. I've been a big fan of Queen of Crows. I don't see her played that much. I love playing her. I've played her really successfully. Just don't see a lot of people having it, but so it's great for like in all ranged. She is a great card as a tank or a secondary tank. I think I've had that a couple times today. I've been playing the gargoyle with the close range and the shield, and then playing her in the back of it, and just with the headwinds, the slow, the high life, the close range, just that's an amazing card to have in an all ranged attack rule set. So yeah, I think it's kind of giving some life to some of those other cards, especially some of those Rift Watcher cards that we don't see that much. But yeah, so I like those having those new rule sets in there. But yeah, the three rule sets, I'd like to see maybe a little more balance of at least in the Golden Plus place to go back to more of having two rule sets some more often.
Yeah, I'm right there
Yeah.
with you. I think the 75% is a little much, I think. And to your point of the restrictiveness of some of the rule sets, you are more likely to run into Rise of the Commons or Even Stevens or odd ones out or whatever. And I think I had, a good example yesterday was I was playing through ranked, and I ran into, I think it was a magic only and either Even Stevens or odd ones out. And it's already restrictive being magic only. And then you cut that in half even further with Even Stevens. And yeah, I think an easy way, I think we need to take a step back and realize that it's a brand new iteration of where the game is going. I think, things will change. It wouldn't surprise me if we do see that 75% get cut down to, maybe 50%. And another way to kind of expand the abilities to or the options in these new rule sets is to adjust the so like magic only or ranged only to allow for non-attackers to be played.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be a huge way to not only increase the variability, and I think that would those folks who are proponents of the three rule sets in the name of preventing bots from just overrunning things. This would increase the variability of cards that are able to be played, and therefore, I think go a step further in defeating the bots, Yoshimi. But
so to that point, though, I mean, like I was asking people, today, in the general Phoenix chat, like, hey, what have your bots been doing? And I think some people said like Archmage was down for a little bit, or maybe not at all. Xbot, they recoded and within 12 hours like had it back up and running. Like, to me, like when you hear this, you're like, oh, this could limit the bots, but yeah, for maybe like a day or two until they're, or maybe they'll be at a slight disadvantage for the first week, maybe, until they get enough of the data set to be able to optimize it again, and then they're going to have a huge advantage as like someone who plays as a human. It's that extra. When I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, I can do an extra rule set. I've got the two down pretty pat, but it's really, I mean, it is harder. It's going to take me way more time than the bots to figure out the best cards to play in those three rule sets. And then, I was in a good place where I was like, I could beat bots. I'm doing pretty well against bots. I didn't, I stayed in gold, through the end of last season because I was sending you guys some stuff. Like I was doing pretty well. I think I finished like 15th in gold last season.
Nice.
Um, and like, I feel like this is when you first hear about it, like, oh, this will set the bots back. But like, is it like the bots will just learn what the optimized, cards are to play in these rule sets faster than, a human will be able to adapt? And,
Mm,
it might set them back a little bit, but yeah, it just seems to me that it's not. I mean, I like the change. I like that they keep things fresh. I like that they changed it up, but I don't see this as a thing that's anti-bot. It's going to take the people, maybe, the people who have their own individual bots that they've coded will have to go back to the drawing board a little bit more, but especially the larger bots, your Archmage, Xbot, Splintermate, or whatever the other bigger ones are. Um, they'll catch up pretty quickly. They have a large data set to draw from all their users. And that's even if they're not pulling like all the data from every battle from the blockchain. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it almost puts a human at a disadvantage because the computer can calculate that, that extra, iteration, faster and better. So
sure.
yeah, I don't really see this, and that's kind of like a couple of things, and um, I don't mean this. This might be the common thread. I'm not against bots. I'm going to say that right now. I understand that the game has so many different facets. People do not have the time to play it. I think it's great, but I think that some of the narrative around the bots and what should we do about them? Oh, this will be bad for bots. This will be bad for bots. And every time you turn around, like no, it's actually not. It's actually better for the bots. I just think there's this narrative of the bots and the ranked battle, and it's almost like there's like a little bit of, I think, kind of hypocrisy about it. Just from the general community, it's all like, well, ranked battle's full of bots, so it's not fun anymore. So I just use my bot to play ranked battle. It's like, okay, uh, like it's the same game as tournaments and brawls. It's the same game. It's not that it's not fun. It's that, maybe if you don't have time for it, that's fine, but don't like, bash ranked battles. I get a little bit of chip on my shoulder because I really do like playing ranked battles, but like don't bash ranked battles and say they're not fun because all the bots, because then and so then your response to that is, well, I'm just gonna run a bot on it. It's the game's the same. The game's always been bots in the ecosystem. It's I'm not against it. I see the advantages of it. I see the disadvantages of it. People are going to do what they want to do, but yeah, um, I think that yeah, it's kind of a tricky issue. It's not a lot of these changes are not anti-bot features. I'd love to see them do something that is. I'm not saying against bots or bad for bots or bot owners, but to maybe try to like reward people who actually engage with and play the game more. So yeah, it's kind of my take on the whether three rule sets is bad for bots.
So what do you think is the correct anti-bot move? Do you feel like staking SPS to maximize rewards? Do you feel like that will begin to kind of thin out the herd of successful bots and bots that are actually reaping benefit from playing ranked?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, again, it's also too whether it's, there's a difference between bots and bot farms. You know, I personally view, Archmage and Xbot and things like that. They're bot farms. They're just partially decentralized bot farms, right? Instead of having one person, I hear that too in Discord and chat and our guild and stuff like that. And that's kind of people's common defense is, oh, well, I'm not running 1,000 bots. I just use a bot on my personal account or my alt account. It's like, yeah, well, it's still the same. It's the kind of the same thing, right? Like it's a decentralized bot farm. You have one person who's giving you the software, um, instead of one person or one entity running thousands of bots. One entity provides software to thousands of people who then individually use that software bot and kick up some of the proceeds back up the chain, to that single entity. So it's just a more decentralized bot farm. And I don't think there's anything you're going to do to sort of get that out of the way. Maybe you can limit the quote unquote big bot farms where it's one entity just setting up accounts and running tons of accounts. I think Stake XPS will, if it doesn't do that, then it'll still go a long way to helping out the ecosystem by locking up more SPS and hopefully driving up the value of that. I think it's tricky because like, how do you reward user engagement, right? That the team, I'm sure it's something they think about. I'm sure this is not something only I think about, but it's the engagements of individual users are a resource for the team, and it's not something that's really being harvested, or something that's really being rewarded in any way right now, right? There's no advantage or disadvantage to the team whether you're have a bot running your account or whether you're running your account. But that user engagements, that's something that so many businesses capitalize on, and they capitalize on it through, the simplest way to do it is through sponsorships or advertisements, however you want to deem it. I personally would be totally fine with seeing, advertisements in the game. Not the annoying ones you get with a lot of mobile games where it's, like these 30-second pop-up like video cartoony ads for stuff. If it's just simple banner ads, like maybe, there's some very simple CAPTCHA thing that you do to, like when I go to just start a battle or after I set my team, instead of giving me splinter bites, which, we've all, read parts of 1,000 times because they can kind of go off so quickly, like, throw up an ad for Coke or Pepsi or whatever, bullshit, health food product that's popular on TikTok now. Give me something to click on to get through that, prove that it's like, I'm a human, I'm playing the game, and then, if the team was saying, hey, look, we're going to take, that ad revenue and part of it's going to go to a reward pool, or we're going to incentivize some other way for people who we can tell are actual people engaging with the game. Part of it's going to go to the team to support the team so they have a steady sense of income. And part of it'll go to help the overall community. It'll go to, buying burning deck, buying burning SPS, driving up the value of, I'm sure they've obviously thought about. And I think it's something that, the game will ultimately, hopefully, I think, have to get to. I'm not like an economist. I don't really know a lot about that kind of stuff, but I understand that these for to have growth, financial growth in these sort of ecosystems, you either need increased users or you need funds coming in from somewhere else, right? You need something that drives that growth, and if it's funds from advertisers, that's going to go to support the team, go to support the community, go to support users. Like if they can do it in a non super annoying, minimally invasive way, I'd support that. And I think after, going through this bear market, we've seen what happens to card prices when you don't have that growth, right? So can we get, and we've seen what happens with SPS with, it just being so inflationary with them giving it out all over the place. No real use cases for it. Lots of people are probably selling it, just selling it, taking their money and it's great for them. That's a strategy to have. And I totally get that. yeah, so I'd be okay with something like that. I know that some people might think like, no, that's really annoying. I don't want to see that. But to me, I think ultimately, whether it's sponsorships through tournaments or brawls or other places, like the game is gonna have to get there for this to be this ecosystem to be able to move forward continuously on its best foot. So
Yeah, man. Well, congratulations, man, on your 15th placed finish. That's great, man. I wonder. It'll be interesting to see. I know it's kind of they've just changed this three rule set midway through the season, so it'd be interesting to compare that to like a full season when you're slugging away in gold with that three rule set and how you will fare compared to the bots and that. So I'm just wondering as well, like you make some really good points as well about the rank play as well, because I feel that has to change, right? And like you say, like everyone is just playing the game. Okay, if you can call it playing the game, or just using the bots to play the game whilst they, maybe do tournaments or brawls. And if you are gonna get these people in, why would they come in just to play the bots, right?
yeah, I think I think that's a great point. I want to know. I have a question. This that brings up a good question of mine. I want to know. You guys have alluded to this magical night, this wondrous magical night on the river after a few beers, when Wasco you talk Jangle to join in the game. So I want to know, like, what did you tell him? Like, what did you tell him about the game? And maybe what did you tell him, or Jangles, what did you hear that made you say, hey, you know what, this sounds like a cool game. I want to get involved in this. I want to get started in this. So like, what did you tell him about like the actual gameplay?
Hey, drink this beer.
Well, Magic Kool-Aid. I think I told I probably I can't remember. It was, yeah, like say it was a magical blurry night, but
Lost to the
um
mist of a drunken night in history.
yeah, but I remember just being just because I just like very passionate about it, and maybe it wasn't just the game, it was the other things associated with the game. You have this NFT, which is what actually got me into the game initially, that I was just interested, to try different types of investments. And I was just really fascinated how when you bought this NFT, about the prices going up and down, and that was one thing that kind of fascinated me, and land as well. So, but yeah, I don't know, like maybe Ben can.
Well, it
Was there
was.
anything about the
I
actual
mean,
actual gameplay or
okay. So the initial pitch, uh, we probably talked about Splinterlands for a good 20-30 minutes, in Wasco's pitch to bring me on board. I think it started with, man, I've been trying to get my buddies involved in this game. Nobody wants to play. Maybe you're interested. So not a good start, but yeah, I think I had a history of middle school, high school. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons. So I was already, the appeal for trading card games, tabletop games, that sort of stuff was already there for me. And Wasco was kind of talking through with that, and bear in mind this was without any visual context. So it was him just trying to kind of walk through what the game looks like, what the gameplay looks like, what the economy is kind of looking like. Airdrop was about halfway through at that point, and I think that was right on the heels of Wasco getting his plots of land, and talking about what the future of the game looks like, and that sort of thing. And the excitement was definitely there. It was 100% fueled by a handful of beers. And I think from the point of the initial conversation to the first time I played and purchased a spell book was probably, there was probably a 10-day window. So I went home and I found the likes of Infidel. I found Bulldog. I think I stumbled upon Aftersound in my first couple of weeks of kind of doing research on Splinterlands, and yeah, so I mean, it was the appeal of a new kind of trading card game with the aspect of being decentralized and on the blockchain. I had always had the interest of getting involved in crypto to some degree, and through one avenue or another. And Splinterlands just seemed like a great opportunity that married the two, I guess, dreams for me. One is nerding out with a trading card game that was fun, and two being, the crypto side of things. It was probably, I wouldn't say it was love at first sight. There was definitely, once I bought the spell book and I started playing through novice, and I think I called Wasco and I was like, dude, I'm just getting my ass handed to me. It's not fun. Not the bots in novice a year ago, it was Yod and Llama just crushing things. But yeah, it was I want to say the ultimate appeal was the marriage of crypto with trading card games, both of which I had, kind of a long-term attraction to. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but then what if he had told you, well, actually, the main game sucks. It's just full of bots. So then what you do is you get a bot and you just have it run your account for you. Like, would you have been interested? And, because that's like, that's kind of like a lot of people's, opinion now of the game and of ranked play. And, you talked about, you go to all those places and it's like a lot of the same prominent figure. You get a bot with the bot, run my ranked account, do this and that. And, ranked fun and play is still a lot of fun. It's still the same game. It's the game that I, kind of fell in love with and enjoyed. It's the same game as tournaments to a certain extent. Obviously, there's different cards and rule sets in tournaments, which are fun. It's great, but like, I just think that there's too many people out there now being, saying like, ranked play isn't any good because bots are there. And now bots have always been there. The game's still fun. It's still fun. It's still fun to play against bots. You're playing against yourself a lot. You're playing it. To me, you're giving me a rule set, and I'm trying to figure out, what my opponent's going to do and how I'm going to play this hand. If that opponent's a bot, fine, whatever. If it's a computer, it's fine. I play lots of games against computers. I don't play all like PvP games. So yeah, I just kind of like that. It kind of, I don't, again, like I said, I'm not against bots. I think they have a place in the game, but it broke my heart a little bit last week when Jangos, you said like, at what point do we just kind of abandon ranked play to bots and like give up on it? It's that's not going to get new people into the game. It's not going to get people excited about the game. It's a fun game. Ranked play is fun to play. It's fun to play against bots. It's fun to play against other people. Yeah. So I kind of just, I look at it that way. Like the game is the same. It's still a game that I love to play, whether I'm playing against bots or I know I'm playing against other people. I think the bots have made it very easy for people to run a bot, fall out of practice. The game rule sets change enough that they're not as comfortable with it. Maybe they think, oh, the bot can play better than me. I'm just gonna let my bot play. That's fine. That's what we do. And you would focus on brawls and tournaments. Yeah, that's fine. That's great. But yeah, I just think there's too many people out now in the community kind of saying, like ranked play is just not fun. It's just not good anymore. But I just like I hate hearing that. I hate hearing that from people, and you hear it a lot. So yeah.
Well, I think
better.
let me try and mend your broken heart a little bit there. Yeah, I feel like I think I need to clarify my statement. I think abandoning the hope of removing bots from ranked play, I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Aggie and Matt have pretty much dug their heels in ever since the beginning of these conversations about removing bots from the game. In the name of decentralization, which I completely agree with. I still have fun with ranked. I turned off Archmage yesterday, for example, to try and make a push into to champ, and I got a couple of big wins, and it is still fun. But I don't think we're ever going to see a world where ranked is bot free. That said, I do think tournaments and brawls should be human, purely human players. So yeah, how do we move forward with that in mind? I think Weirdbeard's doing some good things to ensure that tournaments are moving to a place where it'll be human only platform. I think brawls will probably follow suit.
Yeah, no, hey man, you make some really good points. And to be honest, when I first, to be honest, pretty like when you first go into the game, you don't. I wasn't really winning, but I was still having fun. So there was definitely something that kept me in the game initially, because I must have been playing with the ghost cards, right? You've got to be. And then obviously I remember winning uh um the shark with thorns as a reward card. So it was kind of before um the most
That's
recent.
not demented shark, is it? What is that, demented
It
shark?
could be is it demented shark? Still got that bad boy.
No, I have one too. Oh, it's a gold foil for me. Yeah, demented shark. Yep.
Demented shark. Yeah, so and I remember and I was very excited getting that demented art because it was just like free. And I remember getting a Hardclaw uh gold foil, and like I checked the price, and I was like, whoa. And then I think maybe those were the draws that also kept me into the game, but definitely it wasn't the initial. It must have been the initial game because, or maybe I just found it challenging, or maybe I just won the occasional one, and like it just kind of kept me going. But what about your experiences when you first arrived?
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it's the challenge, right? It's the challenge, and I think the way that, and to me, I mean, I get like I'm not. I know that bots will always be in ranked. I know they'll always be there. I'm not saying they shouldn't be. I'm not saying I'm morally superior or anything for not using one or anything like that. That's not what I think. I think people, like I said, people want to focus on different aspects of the game. That's great. The having active accounts is great for the game. Bots definitely have a place, but yeah, I think the game is fun. I think the way they kind of change it by introducing new cards, introducing new rule sets, changes it up and it keeps that challenge alive. I think when I first started playing, yeah, like I lost a lot, could not figure out what was going on. But I knew it was something, oh, I can figure this out. I want to figure this out. And yeah, that's still how I feel. I mean, winning a game is great. Winning that game after you just lost three in a row, that feels a little bit better. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, like so, typically in the seasons, I would kind of always getting close to the top 20 and 30 the last 10 seasons or so in gold. And last season I was kind of like, I'm sitting pretty, I had some good runs in the middle of the season, and I was sitting like six at one point. I think I got up to like fifth at one point. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna see. Why don't I just try to in wild? Not in modern, just in wild. I'm like, why don't I just try to see how I can do? And that last day when you're on an 8-9 win streak, and maybe they're running a bot, maybe they're doing it themselves, but you rent cards for 2 days and you can blow through it and get up onto that that the one of those top spots. And it's like that's the other thing too, where I think I get that people say, well, in tournaments there's like more on stake, so it should be more pure. But there's more at stake on those leaderboards end of season. If you can
Mm.
spend some money, rent a bunch of cards, get a bot that does really well, blow through people, have it burn your ECR down because you just don't care about anything else but hitting that, getting that payout a deck at the end. You can make some money on that. You can make some more money than you can on tournaments too. So yeah, but to me, it's like, it's always the challenge. It's always the challenge that draws me back, no matter what it is. And, even if that's just beating up on bots, then, I can kind of get to the point where, you see you know what the bots might play. I'd love to be able to have, if Archmage or Xbot gave me a dashboard that I would pay for to have, and just them saying, hey, if we had if Archmage had all the cards in the world, here's the deck it would be running on this rule set. And just let me say, okay, well, that's what the bot's going to run. Let me see how I can beat that. I might pay for that. That would be fun to do, because then that's kind of what you're trying to do as it is anyway. You can kind of see, because the bots are going to play the same cards often. You can see whether, all right, this guy's going to play water. He's going to have a ruler of the seas. Let me throw some magic reflect in the front, take that guy out. Try to go in through the back, things like that. Or you see that, all right, this guy's got a Kraken. He's going to be playing that Kraken deck, which is still really hard to beat. So, let me see, do I get some Fury monsters in there, try to take that Kraken down and hope I can survive. So yeah, I think it's that rush, it's that challenge. So that's what always draws me back. And I think that's what draws you back when you're first starting, even when you're up against bots and bronze and they're just beating up on you, and you're like, all right, I can figure this out, I can get through this. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly, man. I think when you are right, when people think of rank play now, they do think bots, and it is a very big shame. And I wonder, it's just like humans, once they're given something and they don't need to do it, then it just becomes a habit, right? Like it's very easy just to set your bot going and not have to think about it and still get the benefits from it, as opposed to like what you're doing. You're slugging away, you're trying to work things out. So I think just people have just got just like not greedy, but just kind of they're just like just very happy for their bot to do all their work, and they're just like sat back, if you will, feet up on the desk and reaping the benefit. So yeah, hopefully that does change.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on just the premise of Soulbound, and what are your thoughts towards moving rewards cards to a system where you have to play to earn these cards, and you can't reap any value out of them until the print run has run its course.
Yeah, so when I first heard Soulbound rewards cards, I thought that would be great. Again, it was one of those things that initially seemed like a good anti-large bot farm measure, because those guys are just dumping those cards, selling them, selling off the deck, all the SPS they get. So yeah, that was my initial reaction to it. I thought about it a little bit more, and I was kind of thinking about it, and an after sound came out, with a video a couple days ago. I don't know if you guys saw that. And he was saying, well, once we saw the cards too, well, like it saw that the cards are like really good cards. And I'm always excited about new cards, especially if they're really good, powerful cards. But yeah, like, are the cards so powerful? Will it actually encourage people to run bots? Like, is it, you can put, a minimal investment into, a basic Chaos Legion deck, spell book, get, use that to kind of, mine, and get enough of these reward cards to then be able to use that to move up. Um, that's something that, yeah, that could be. It's like one of those things like I said before. It's, always you think a lot of the stuff initial reaction is, well, it could be anti-bot, and then you're like, well, actually could cause people to run more bots. I know from just personal experience, I've heard many, many people in the Phoenix Arcade Discord be like, oh man, I've got to get an Archmage or an Xbot token now because I really want to make sure I get as much of these rewards cards as possible. So I think you might see an increase in people, running personal bots. Yeah, I mean, it's again, like, I'm not anti-bot. I think it's great. Like you said, if it's easier for people, but if I think it's people are probably playing the game the same amount. They're just focused more on brawls and tournaments, which tournaments have gotten better and better, and brawls are become a bigger part of the game as guilds become a bigger part of the game, and I think all that stuff's great. So like I think that's fine. Yeah, I kind of initially thought maybe rewards cards that are soulbound could be, worked into the new player experience in a certain way to make it kind of like, and whether, I know there's a lot of talk with doing stuff like this with the battle pass, whether it's like quests or things you have to complete to unlock rewards. It's like, hey, you could have these soulbound cards. I thought a cool thing, would be that like maybe, stake a certain amount of SPS to be able to unlock different tiers of these cards, and then maybe you got to spend vouchers to actually unlock the individual cards. Like you have tier one bronze level cards, stake a certain amount of SPS, get a certain amount of vouchers, unlock those cards, and then you could continue to use them, as long as you have that SPS staked. So now we're driving utility to SPS and vouchers, but I kind of thought that would be maybe a way to do it with the cards like not being so powerful. So that way you're not devaluing the actual cards, but it would give people, an easier opportunity to move up to, we know those summoners are the big hurdle, the big expense to move up between bronze and silver, between silver and gold, between gold and diamond. I mean, that is, by far the main reason I've kind of, made the decision that I think I'm just going to be happy playing in gold for the long foreseeable future. And, before I had ambitions like, yeah, I'll move up to diamond, try to get the champ. But I'm like, I like playing in that top level of gold. I like to be kind of competitive up there with the big guns. And I've spent a lot of money on my deck to get where it's at in gold, and even renting a few cards here and there, and like the expense to get to diamond, like thinking about doubling down on that is like, yeah. So yeah, I kind of thought that would be a cool way to do it, to maybe give people access to cards that maybe aren't as powerful, but then you could buy a few cards here and there to fill out your deck to make it better, to give new players that access to it, and maybe that's something they can still think about and do. So yeah, I kind of envisioned it a little bit differently than kind of just being like, yeah, we've got to earn these cards, because I guess with the way you're going to do it with multiple cards in each chest, that'll be helpful, because I've never even come close to getting like a max level on any rewards cards in this last run, and I'm basically just a year into the game now, so I kind of came in, maybe not as soon as the original Chaos Legion rewards cards were out, but yeah, I've had to buy a lot of those cards to get them to gold level. I don't think I've ever really earned enough, even the common ones to get it up there. So, we'll see. It's one of those things. We'll see kind of how it goes and what its effects are. But I mean, the cards look super cool. I'm really excited to get them in my deck. Yeah, so that's kind of my, what my initial thoughts were. Yeah, and looking at them now, they look fun. So I'll definitely be happy to have them.
Excellent. Well, let's so before the podcast, we had kind of set the assignment for each of the three of us to kind of run through the splinters, pick one or two cards that we felt would be, maybe personal favorite, and also one summoner. So why don't we start talking about the cards themselves, and we can start talking about maybe how are each of our choices going to shift the meta, if they are, or maybe you chose cards with your heart. You just love the artwork or the names or the splinter. Yeah. So why don't we kick it off?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you up front, I didn't through all these, I did not always choose cards that I was excited to see. Some of them I chose cards that I am gonna hate to see. So you're gonna get my angle on some of the cards I don't want to go up against, or kind of are gonna negatively affect my current deck for certain reasons. So I'm gonna throw that curveball in there on you.
No, that's great. Wasco, why don't you kick us off, man? Did you wait, let's just go down the list. We'll start with fire. You got a you got a favorite card for fire out of the new batch?
Well, I've kind of also not gone for my particularly favorite, because I feel with lots of them, possibly the obvious choice might have been like, the big overpowered ones. So I've just kind of gone for one that I just feel like I would be using the most. Okay. So with that being said, I've gone for fire, right? Idry fire, the taunt. I feel fire is definitely missing taunt unless you have the core lurker. But I think for 6 mana, she's wicked. So for those who don't know, she's got like 4 speed, 5 shield, 10 health, and she comes with a taunt, redemption, return fire, and phase. Is that right? Is that return fire, that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I just think she's pretty swift already. And I've kind of like also made my choices like based on like syncing them with gladiator cards. So as people probably know, out there who listen, I often play Bejangles with challenges, and he always comes with Fina Boxum, the naughty little lady with opportunity. So hopefully quell that for the time being with her. And I just think I like her as well with the Ferox Defender. So he comes with Protect. So she gets a bit more shield and repair. He gets repair and shatter. So I like those two sync together. But I'd like to play this Vixen with Scargore. I think with Enrage would be pretty sweet. But also Jasic as well, right? Then she's even faster, even more difficult to hit, especially for those melee. But yeah, I think you can also. I know people have talked about her before as well, like pairing her with Phyrexian, the Phyrexian hero. So then she gets, I believe she would get 3 melee as well. So I think she just comes with loads of different options. So yeah, she's my top pick for the new reward cards for fire. What about you, Hep?
Well, I wanted to jump in and say, I have another card picked out that I want to talk about, but like that was one card where it's like, this is the card I don't want to see. Like, with Yasik, you're gonna give this thing 2 speed buffs. It's got phase, it's got return fire, it's got the shield, it's got the health. I mean, you put a bunch of range nonsense, some of that exploding garbage stuff behind this thing with Yasik. It seems like they gotta nerf this thing more. I mean, it just seems way too OP for me. You're gonna give this thing 6 speed with the phase and the return fire. I mean, it's it's going to be tough, because like when you're going up against Yasik, that's like you've got to get into that back row. You got to take out some of those range guys. You need opportunity. You need sneak. Eliminating that with this card, and the health and the shield it has too. I mean, even if you're, if I was to play, the Kasich, that the water that's got the fury. Maybe you can do 6 damage. It should probably hit it even. I still think 6 speed, and even if I buff it with Kayla, that card's base is 3, and then so you're at 4. Like you might miss. If you miss that thing one time, it's game over. So yeah, that card to me, I'd like to see them nerf that a little bit more. I don't want to see that out in the wild, so to speak. So
And what's your pick there, Hep?
I mean, so I like the Firewatch Devil. I think that's a cool card to see. I like the life leech. I like the oppress. It's got good speed. It's ranged. You know me, I'm always looking for something that's going to kill a Pelacor Conjurer. That's a good card to kill a Pelacor Conjurer. I like to see low mana stuff too. So to me, that was kind of my pick as my favorite card. One other thing I'm wondering is what is the difference between Ferox and a Phyrexian? It seems like is that the same place or are they the same species or slightly different species? I don't know. It's a little too similar to me. It's like one's a lava monster, the other some sort of minotaur. But yeah, Ferox and Phyrexian. I don't know. Don't mean to call out the creative team here, but yeah, they seem a little too similar to me. So yeah, that was the other thing that stuck out to me about this set of fire cards.
Yeah, well, let me jump in before Bejangles does his. I was also going to go for Pyre Watch Devil, and I also thought my immediate thought was like you, how just it's just like a conjurer killer.
Yeah.
But because then if you add the 2 speed with Jasic, there's no guarantee he's going to hit the conjurer, right? You're kind of throwing the dice whether one of those 6 shots are going to hit the conjurer. And you know what the conjurer's like? He's just like he's still pretty unhittable, even if you do hit that little
the flying dodge will still get you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, Bejangles, what are you coming with?
So I chose Idri also, and that kind of sets up a theme for my choices throughout the rest of these new rewards cards. I just love everything that you mentioned in talking about her, Waskel, I completely agree with. But I think my favorite element to her is she's only 6 mana, so she's not occupying a lot of your spends for a team. But she's going to occupy a lot of time from your team trying to take her out. And yeah, I think she syncs really well with the available modern fire summoners, particularly, Skargor was my first thought also. I think we've all run into, the Skargor or enraged rule set lurker with fire, and it just goes warp speed, untouchable. I think just the kit that she has. I love the redemption. I'm a big fan of redemption. I wish Fire had a little bit more redemption to make it kind of a viable play, but it's great for, getting rid of divine shields and that 1 armor buff from Kelia or Lux. But yeah, Idri, I think just fits really well with the current fire meta. She's fast. She's elusive. When you do touch her, she's sending back range damage. And my number 2 choice was the defender, the Ferox. I guess he looks like a kind of a lava minotaur, actually. So he still looks like he's got a little bit of the minotaur horns going on, and maybe a bit of a beard. I don't know. Nate, where are you at? We need some creative oversight here. Yeah, but I love the kit that the defender brings: the protect, the repair, the shatter. I think we've all seen. I was right there with underestimating the power of shatter with the Immortalis release. I kind of poo-pooed on it a little bit, and what a waste of an ability to give a legendary summoner. Man, I have very quickly fallen in love with the power that Immortalis brings, and Shatter is such a great ability. When we see those, big boys like the Legionnaire Alver or Aegor, Longclaw, Longtooth, Longtail. Yeah, wrong end of the anatomy there. But those big guys that are packing, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 void armor, that can be immediately removed by a shatter just makes that ability so powerful. So that was my choice.
Where would you put? I think. Would you put him as a tank then? Because it is 8 mana. You'd have to put him as a tank, right? Otherwise, it's 8 mana is quite a lot to
6. It's only 6. That's the lowest. There's no 8 is the Shield Bearer and Wave Brood are the 8 mana.
Oh no, sorry, I meant the
Defender.
The Defender.
Oh, the Ferox Defender. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably put him. I've been using. I would use him pretty similarly to the way that I use Archimus. I would put him as a second base, second off tank, run my take up front, allow this guy to, I would sacrifice the attack that he brings for the kit that he brings. The shatter will come in handy later, but the protect and repair, I think, is the meat and potatoes of what he brings to a lineup, and just being able to protect your tank and from any snipers or sneakers, opportunity guys. I think fire, some of my favorite cards that's what they're lacking is armor. So being able to bring in the armor and the repair within a single card is a great attribute for for the fire team.
Do we know when he does get protects?
I believe we may. Let me look up the
It's usually the first ability is usually for
far
maybe
left.
not for a common, but it's usually right
Yeah.
from like the one, right? Or it
I
should be at
think
least in silver.
I think you're right. I think the ones on the left will probably be the first, right? Because you got
Yeah.
that taunt on the left as well, and the martyr and the weapon training. So yeah,
It'll
maybe
probably be
protect
right
us.
away, minimum
Yeah.
silver, and then yeah, you probably get repair at 6 with him, and then max level will be shatter. That's usually the way the commons usually work. Do you have? Oh, nice. Yeah, look. Yes, yeah, 1, 6, and 9. Yeah, nine's comes. Third one coming at 9.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, he gets protect from
from the
level
get
one.
go.
Yeah.
Should do. Yeah, I think these abilities are still the initial iteration, and they have been buffed, nerfed a little bit. But yeah, I imagine the ones that did stay are going to remain kind of as is when they come into
Yeah,
the
'cause
fold for the cards.
when they initially released Idri, they had her at like a 5 speed.
And
Yeah, there you go.
13
From the
HP.
start, which is like, yeah, which that was like, I was like, that's insane. Yeah, and they were, and yeah, that's the thing is, when I first saw this, it was like 5 speed, taunt, magic reflect, return fire, phase, and I'm just like, that's not fair, I wish they
If
had
you
when I
haven't
had
got
been
her,
building
she's
out
not
my
fair.
deck. I wish they like when I was building out my deck from originally and like really liked water and death, and I wish they would have like given us the heads up, like, hey, when after Chaos Legion first drop, like everything, it might seem weak now, but everything we're going to do moving forward is just going to make fire the most awesome OP deck ever. I wish they would have told us that ahead of time, so I would not still have like level 2 Chaos Legion fire cards. But yeah, luckily they
Well,
nerfed that a little bit. I'd really like to see that thing go down to 3 speed because yeah, like you said, with Rage or with Yasek, it's gonna be, it's that speed just it's too much. It's too much speed.
mm. Let's proceed into
All right.
water. And Hep, why don't you kick us off and tell us where were your where was your attraction to the water team rewards cards?
This is hard. This is like really, I mean, I like water. This is a hard one. Uh, I'm gonna give you another one that I was like really upset to see, and it's the Kulu Mastermind. Um, with that speed and that attack and the oppress, that is gonna destroy Bacteria. You guys know how much I love my Bacterias.
Well,
Um,
it's fitting, but before you comment further, it's fitting that it's a
yeah,
squid that is
yeah.
the whale destroyer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, with the melee attack and the oppress, that'll eat right through a Bacteria. I mean, that's seems like that was what that card is designed to do. Um, Bacteria is still so great as a tank. I'm shocked that I don't see it played more often. Yeah, so to me, that was one of the things I first initially saw. And yeah, I'll let you guys go on, and I'll maybe throw in if you don't cover. Well, I like all these cards. They're all really good. So yeah.
Agreed. Water is a tough hit. All right, Ben, do you want to hit us with yours?
Yeah, okay. So my choice was with purely Pacifist in mind. And it was a toss up. It was a close call between the Coastal Sentry and Noah the Just. I'll choose the Coastal Sentry because I feel like she brings some awesome artwork. All of these water cards just have fantastic artwork. I love the Swamp Spitter bringing the Ninja Turtle memory and
Yeah.
nostalgia from my childhood into Splinterlands. But the Coastal Sentry bringing massive damage. She is a giant, but she's fast. She fits with any of the water summoner that you roll out, either Kelia or Pacifist, but particularly Pacifist having piercing and the double strike is just, I think it's this card single-handedly is going to boost the stock for the likes of Pacifist, opening up the that's one thing that I think water has been missing is piercing. The rust was another reason that or was the primary reason that I was leaning towards Noah the Just, but I'm going to give the nod to the big damage dealer in the Coastal Sentry running either reach or the point tank position for Team Water.
Yeah, and it's quite funny. I just sold my Persibolus this week, just the day before these dropped, because I was I just was really happy with Immortalis, and I was like, oh, I've got to get this leveled up, and I saw the price rising, so I just made the decision, good or bad. It's not looking too great now, but yeah, I agree. I think water was really hard one, because there's so many great ones. You got the swamp hitter, the common hitting for 4, and it's got the repair, and it's got giant killer as well. Woof. And that 7 mana is pretty cool. But I just went for the Musa Celine. I just like that 3 mana. I'm actually just thinking low mana battles. I just thought with the Shatter, it comes out quite fast at 4. If you got Kalia, then it's coming at 5, and it's just gonna, like that cruel Cephalopods. He's just like the bane of your life in those low mana games.
Yeah.
And if you can whack out his shield, that's the one that's gonna damage him more. And I know you can repair the shields, right? But if you can just somehow get into him, lower his health. So and also with Dispel, I think Dispel is going to be coming into its own. And I forgot it's got Scavenger, right? So
Yeah.
Scavenger's always just a touch. If you can get some Scavo on any of your guys, and Magic, so yeah, that's
Low
my
mana
pick.
scavenge, or like low mana scavenge cards are awesome to have in those
Yeah.
little league matches. It's just they're so great. They're so powerful. That's such a I don't want to say it's underrated, but you don't see it throughout too many splinters. You got like the Screeching Vulture in Wild and Earth and in the beta, and I love that card. And you got Dr. Blade, obviously. Water has
Water's got that
seaweed,
murd.
yeah.
Water's got the Scavo guy as well, the range guy. Is it the Hampir?
Oh no, he's Life Leech.
Life Leech, yeah.
Oh, Life
They
Leech.
have the seaweed,
The seaweed is scavenge.
Is scavenge, but yeah, that card's not cheap. Yeah, so that's such a great ability. And yeah, I just want to point out too that the Swamp Spitter, I don't know what weapon does he have? Is that I can't tell if he's more of like maybe the Leonardo type. Looks like maybe it's an axe though. This is one thing I was shocked that in Rift Watchers, I was totally expecting Water to get a giant killer. I think this is Water's first giant killer. I was totally expecting that they were going to have it in Rift Watchers. They didn't. They gave Fury instead to Brewmaster Case, but that was something I thought that was a very big omission of the team in Rift Watchers to not give a giant killer to Water. So it's nice to see that this is here. So yeah, definitely excited for that card. And Noah the Just too, like that's just straight backline sneak prevent. I really, that card is going to be, I want to play that card in front of my Dr. Blight, kind of protect the rest of my team if I don't have the mana to play my what is it? Not the now I'm blanking on the name. It's like one of my favorite cards. My Phantom of the Sea. Yeah, Phantom of the Abyss. I was like, Phantom of the Abyss in the back line. I use that as my sneak protect if I got the mana. If I don't have it, like I'm gonna love to have that Noah to just kind of be back there, dodge backfire, you get the rust, and then you get the martyr, which is going to be able to boost up your Dr. Blade. He's going to, give him an extra, extra speed, extra magic attack to just sit back there and pick people off. Like that's going to be big.
That's an interesting mix of abilities, right? So he's very elusive with dodge. He's got 6 speed out of the gate, but then he's got martyr. It's a little counterintuitive, but it's a 5 mana card, so it makes a little bit of sense that he's going to be a little bit more elusive before you finally get that martyr buff in the team. But
That thing is going to
yeah,
get nerfed. If I got to call a card that's going to get nerfed, that's definitely going to be one of them. It's too much speed with the dodge.
I think. Do you guys think with this new martyr ability, because the emphasis to use the martyr is like at the back, right? Just like a little bit of a bait for those sneak attacks. I think we're going to probably see sneak being played less and less. I would say it's making me not want to play sneak because I just don't want to. Then you just end up buffing up like your opponent's blight, right?
Yeah.
kudos to the team for bringing more balance, man.
Yeah.
That bandit Uraeus, it's a nasty combo, and this is anti bandit, anti Uraeus, and I like
Yeah,
it.
so like I've been playing mostly in wild, and like I've definitely, especially those some of those beta cards, we were talking about this the other day, that prices have dropped on a bunch of those cards. Like, yeah, I got myself a Silver Shield Assassin. I've been playing that life sneak deck, and it's like it's still really good. I feel like you saw it a lot and it kind of went away. It's it's trying to bring it back. It definitely makes you think twice about it though. Yeah.
I hate that card. I still hate that card.
I got my I got my gelatinous cube too, Jangles. I'll tell you that right now. Just
Oh my gosh. Good riddance. I haven't thought about the cube in months. Best months of my Splinterlands career. All right, fellas,
All
let's talk Earth. Hep, why don't you kick us off, man? Where are you thinking on these Earth cards?
right. So I have really like two. I mean, they're all really good. I think they're all really good. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna mix it up a little. I'm gonna go the Thane new song. Again, I like that they got some low mana options here. This card is good. He's got a lot of health for a low mana card. This is again another thing you could stick in the back as a kind of a sneak protect. He's going to give you the speed boost and the inspire. I kind of see this as um like a newer version of the brownie. The brownie is only that one mana, and he's got the inspire and the speed boost. Um, but he's also got that, gives you that health boost. Um, so I like that too, because like usually, that strengthen or it gives you that one extra health. Like it's 4 mana, but you might use like two cards, right? I mean, I forget the name of the is it Untamed Earth card that's like that 1 mana Earth card that gives you that.
Oh,
Um
Epona.
Epona, yeah, right. Like that card is like that legendary 1 mana cards are they're so expensive, No, I
Yeah.
don't have those. I'm never gonna buy or rent one of those. So to me, yeah, I've been kind of building out my Earth Wild deck a little bit. I got that healing tree, I got the scavenger. So I've kind of been looking to build that out a little bit more recently, and I think this card will help me that'll fit in nicely. So I like that card a lot.
Weskel? Earth?
I'm snap, crackle, and pop. I'm gone straight for Thane Yusong as well. Number one, he's playing the banjo, one of my favorite instruments. But I think, like you said, 4 mana, 9 health. But I just think it's just all his abilities, right? I think if you played him with Immortalis, you've got that void magic, and then you're kind of like reducing your opponent's ranged attack as well. But the inspire is another great one, right? And the strength and the speed as well. I think yeah, I think I'm thinking like playing him in diamond. You got the fiend that also the fiend reduces the opponent's speed, so already you're kind of at advantage there as well. And I kind of like oh yeah, and also the summoner, which I know we're going to talk about summoners later, but the new summoners lowland is reduces the speed as well. So those guys, and you're not using that much mana. But I think I kind of wrote down here like with the gladiator cards. I can't even say gladius or gladiator. Gladiator cards. You've got kind of the opportunity with Gobson. So he's going to be like a 2 mana gladius card. Is going to be hitting with 3, and I believe he even goes. Yeah, I've got him at a lower level, so I think that could even increase as well. And another one of Bjangle's favorites is the 6 mana sneak gladius card. So she at level 4, she gets 3 melee. So you increase her melee, so that she's hitting 4. So she's hitting 4
And
two
double
times.
strike.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Yeah, 4 2 times, man. That's kind of so that's why I've kind of gone for this bad boy. I think he just kind of syncs so well with lots of um Earth's Earth's deck so well. Yeah, top pick.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this for a little while. I feel like Earth is continuing to move the needle and pull away from the pack in terms of being, in my mind, by far the most versatile splinter. You can run a really magic heavy team in modern. You can run. We've been seeing Fernheart. I think is my favorite summoner from Rift Watchers, and leaning into that Earth ranged team. And there's just the modern cards. Let alone I know there's some really really badass wild ranged Earth cards. But just speaking modern, I feel like Fernheart opens up, a whole new dynamic for Team Earth, and then the Immortalis play leans into any of the above. You can go hard on magic, you can go hard with melee, and I feel like this roster of rewards cards from that we're getting next week just further expands the versatility of Earth. It's a unanimous decision here. Thane Newsong is the winner. He's the cheapest from a mana perspective of any of the epics. He can really change the game in any rule set, really, outside of maybe reverse speed. But it might even still be worth it based on those other 3 abilities that he brings to the table. Just as a tank in something like Little League, and throwing. I love the. I still never see her, but Isa the Fanged has slowly become one of my favorite plays. Nobody expects her.
Yeah.
You throw her with Uraeus. You throw her with the Gladius card, Katrelba Gobson, the double strike sneaker that Waskell was just talking about. And then one of my other favorites from this bunch is the Fungus Flinger, and in particular with Fernheart, throwing him up front and having a good reach. I forget the reach monster from Rift Watchers.
Bramble Pixie,
yes. He'd get a nice little buff as soon as this guy goes down in maybe smaller mana matches. Just throwing a lamb to the slaughter for the benefit of the martyr there. But yeah, in general, I feel like Earth continues to kind of run away with just the huge degree of versatility that's available within the Splinter.
Yeah. I think also with Thane Newsong, Kiora gets a buff as if she didn't need one already, right? With that Inspire and Speed. Played with the Summoner, you can with the new reward card Summoner for Earth, Lowlander, Lowland, Thane Newsong with Kiora and 2 Gladius cards in brawls, right? I'm talking about in brawls. The fact that you can get 2 of those into brawls. Yeah.
I really want to get my Fernheart up. The Rift Watchers packs I got, I think he was the summoner I got the least of. I think I only got let me see, actually. Yeah, I got like 9 of him. And it's kind of been tough because I know I'd use it, I want it, but it's still a little pricey, like $4 or $5 a BCX. It's like, well, especially with, a lot of, like I said, a lot of those wild cards now are the prices have dropped, and it's like, well, I could spend a little bit more and get a maxed out ruler of the seas, or not maxed out, but like a gold max ruler of seas. So I keep putting off getting that card. Definitely need it. I think, yeah, like you said, life ranged is still a little underrated. I mean, I play the Venari Seedsmith, which is like a very cheap reward card, with that scavenge and the poison. Like, I love that card. I really love playing that card. I've had, a lot of good success playing that card. So yeah,
Do you
definitely
not
in
rent
my
out that much, Hep?
with that.
Do you not rent out the summoners?
No, I don't. There's a couple, like I ran a dragon summoner in wild, and that is the only summoner I ran out. Once I got the Lux Vega, it was like just play that,
Ah,
just don't worry about it, just play that. Play the Lux and then figure out the Splinter. I mean, that's why it's been, the best money I've ever spent in this game, and yeah, it's such a great card for, you know, I'd probably say honestly, played, maybe 75 to 80% of my matches now. I'm playing Lux. Yeah, it's just so versatile. So yeah, there's definitely something, especially with the new rule set where it's the only ranged attacks. It's like Fernheart's, going to be even more valuable. But yeah, I'm still hemming and hawing on it. So we'll see. I'll hopefully get there one day soon. But yeah, I love the Earth ranged. Yeah, it's good.
hopefully those prices will, if the prices can come down at any point.
Well, what we need is more supply to enter the ecosystem. Nobody's buying
Yeah,
Rift Watchers packs,
yeah.
so
I think
it's just yeah.
yeah. And not to, I wonder too, this is something I wonder about, not to, I'm now going to be the guy who's constantly harping on the negative aspects of bots in the ecosystem. But I think that it does affect, because like, you want to get new cards when you get beat by those cards. If I get beat by a Fernheart all the time, I'd say, you know what, I'm going to get that Fernheart. I just don't see it. And it is the fact that I'm not seeing it does it have to do with, bots only taking the historical data and really starting to ramp up before Rift Watchers came out. And I understand, like, not a lot of people got, there's not a lot of supply, they're not being played as much. But I think that does have a negative effect on the sales of new cards, because that's the number one driver of buying a card, at least for me, is getting beat by it like a lot. And if if the bots aren't going to play it because it's not in their, historical data set to say that you can have success with this card, you're not going to see it as often, right? So,
Mm.
yeah, I think that kind of, I wonder if that has had, an effect on the slow sale of Rift Watch cards. So some of those cards are great. Like I was saying, I'm no Django, if you were, moving your spot earlier. Like Queen of Crows, like I had a lot of success playing that card, especially with this new only ranged. And it's just been like I don't see it. I really don't come up against it. But I love it. I love playing it. And it's like that for a number of, like, Igor Longtail. Like I play that card a lot. Not to tip my own hand too much. I think a lot of people do play that, and it's not a huge secret that you play that card along with the Oshore, Constantina, and then you can play with water with the Rivendell, or you play it with life and get some revives and some armor repairs on it. It's hard to stop. I mean, I get stopped sometimes, but it's hard to stop. So that's another card that you don't see it out there. I don't, maybe you guys see it more in diamond, but in gold I just don't see that card like all that often, and I'm very surprised because they're really powerful cards. So yeah.
Mm.
Maybe it's just a
Yeah,
case, like Ben was saying, just not so many in circulation, or maybe just the big boys up in the bigger leagues do have them as well.
well,
Sorry, Ben.
I think yeah, I was just going to make a comment on Rift Watcher supply. I think everybody was operating under the assumption that pack sales were going to continue as they did out of the gates, and the supply was going to continue to drive the price down. But the opposite has happened. We still haven't.
Yeah.
I think we just passed the 900,000 pack mark. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the revisitation of Rift Watchers packs being available for DEC. I think that would do great things for moving the packs out of the store, and we would have a ripple effect of seeing prices come down. But somebody like I remember when Rift Watchers first dropped, the Lurker and Agor were by far the most expensive, and they still are. But the price per BCX, I think, was between $12 and $15. And I was like, maybe I'll wait a little bit. That price will come down. No, they've doubled. So I think it's just, yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's cost prohibitive for folks to get into those, to get into those cards at this point for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. Every time I look at, there's this, a few Rift Watchers cards I want to level up. It's just like money that can be spent better elsewhere, because you can get more bang for your buck at it. I think they are more expensive, and to an extent, that's kind of why I bought packs initially. Is you looked at some of those dice cards and they're like, those cards are expensive, those cards are OP, but I don't think that. I think some cards in Rift Watchers did have that effect. And like Queen of Crows, Ra for death, and even the Kabbalist for death. I think that's having that amplify and the giant killer with magic. I think that's great. I think death did actually end up getting a lot of love, even though, okay, I can't believe I've waited this long to say it. Dallin sucks. It's the worst summoner. I'd rather have a bear than a Dallin. I can't believe, like, 3 weeks before I come on the pod again, you find the one other person in Praetoria who agrees with you that Dallin is a good summoner, because it's not.
And I didn't even prod for that one. That was on their own accord.
I know. Agaprime, man, you're killing me. You're killing me. So yeah, I think, I mean, I think they did get some good love in the card set there in Rift Watchers, but again, it's not stuff I'm seeing a lot out there.
Has the prices of Rift Watchers was that behind your thought process about staying in gold? The fact that if you wanted to kind of keep going to diamond, just the cost to kind of level up that deck to make it competitive, now you've got Rift Watchers in there.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. Part of it for a while too was I expected prices for Chaos Legion to fall even further. I kept saying, once there's so many packs out there that are bought and unopened, and I don't think everybody's just holding on to them to try to resell them when it runs out. I think people are waiting for all the airdrops to come out, and then they'll open cards, and those cards will drop more. And for those summoners, that was kind of the big thing. I was like, maybe these summoners will go low, or I'll hold out. And then, Rift Watchers came out. A lot of those cards, I liked. I play with a lot. It's helped me a lot, and I found that one of the reasons I think I've been able to be successful playing Wild is because I have a deck now that has a good mix of Wild and modern cards, and including Rift Watchers and Chaos Legion and a few Untamed. And like a few betas that I've gotten that I think have really helped. And then a few that I rent some consistently that are, still really reasonably priced for rentals. My experience in Wild has been, you see people who have the old school cards, or you see people who have modern decks that are, playing mostly in modern and dipping their toe in Wild just to get extra games in and kind of go back and forth. I play in both. I like that because you can kind of get up to the point where you start, if I'm losing, start see like I've got like 2 or 3 losses in a row in Wild, I'll switch to modern and play some modern games for a day, and then I'll go back and forth. And I feel like I can get focused on more wins and keeping up, and still kind of maximize what I'm getting for my reward share and my ECR. But in Wild, I find having the wrinkles of the Rift Watcher cards, of the Chaos Legion cards, playing with some of those older cards together has been really, really helpful. like it's made it so I can afford to not have to have a Jotun or a Llama or a
Mm.
Valinor or the, you know, whatever the I forget the is a prince some whatever.
Renan.
Yeah, yeah, exactly the Earth guy. Like, and so like yeah, that has been a big part of my decision is like I like to be able to be, that competitive and to have all those different cards and have those different options and, kind of say, all right, here's this deck will be really good. But what if I throw this one wrinkle in here? Well, that kind of, this one maybe, modern card that this guy might not have. And that's the one thing when I look at my opponent's last 5 matches or whatever, I'm looking, are they playing modern cards or are they playing old school wild cards? And then I'm figuring out, okay, now I know what I got to do to counter.
Mm.
And yeah, so I think that's right. That has been a big part of me wanting to stay in gold is because I have more cards to choose from, more combinations I can make at that successful higher level than moving up into diamond. I could go, all right, I'm going to focus just on my, and when I went from silver to gold, I think I did it a little too fast. And I said, all right, I've got a one deck I think I'm going to put together that's going to be successful in gold with water. And basically not even like a full deck. I'm talking about like one hand, basically, like 5 or 6 cards. I'm going to do that with water and I'm going to do that with death. And I'm going to, see how I can do. And you can do pretty well with that. But I love like almost every match I get into, I have a very competitive hand I can play. And I can, sometimes I do go up against everyone who's, they got way better cards than me, just not handling it, just not going to do it. But other times it's like, yeah, I just, you lose, it comes down to the RNG, and you're like, darn, I could have won that one, like so. I said you guys won. Was that from last season or maybe from the season before? Um, that it was like I was up against Ula Ocean, and it said that I had, from the Splinter tools, it was like you had a 98% chance to win that match. And I was like, but I lost, because I was like, just the RNG just like worked against me. And I was like, I love that. I get so much juice out of that, like going against those people who are like the head top people in Splinterlands. Like I'll fight all my way just to even be able to get it, in the same, just get ranked in a match with them. And I've gotten some wins out of it. I get some losses, but yeah, when you see that kind of come up, that's what really kind of like drives me to want to stay in gold is like play those top names and sneak a couple wins. Like the tournament we were in the other day. Like I did bad in that tournament, but hey, it was worth my price of admission because I got to beat B Jangles in a match, and that's all that now. I'll pay for SPS entry fee for that if I get one win out of that tournament all the time, all day long.
And with that said, let's jump to the life cards. No, that's a great point, man, and that's something that really strikes home with me. I love the storyline aspect of, especially tournaments and brawls when you come up against a name that you're familiar with, a buddy, just those bragging rights, or somebody like the Ula Ocean, like Uwe Uwe, or some of the big top dogs that you see routinely competing for leaderboard. Just being able to, sometimes it's a win that you manage handedly, and sometimes you barely squeak one out, and sometimes the tables are completely turned and you just get wiped off the face of the planet by some of these big boys. But those storylines and the relationships that we have with these people on the other side of the game is great, and it comes down to the community aspect and the people that we're playing with. That's one of my big drivers. Also, completely agree. But yeah, well played there, Hep. I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up. Thanks, man.
I'm surprised it took me this long. I'm really slacking off. I was gonna should have came in hot with my down takes and the fact that I beat you in that tournament. But I like to save them, sneak them in there in the middle.
All right, boys. Well, let's jump to the life cards. Wasco, why don't you kick us off here, man?
Okay, I'm gonna go for there are some really good ones here, but I like the War Pegasus. I think it's coming, and this is a rare card, and comes, it's got 4 damage, 5 speed, so it's going to be hitting straight off the bat. And it's got a nice healthy 9 health. It's got flying and it's got shatter, which is one of the reasons why I chose this one. I just think with shields so prevalent in the game, I think just to wipe out whoever is in the front place, their tank, I think that's great. And also it's got demoralize, which is the only life modern card, or actually life card, apart from that. There's one more that has demoralize. So I think that's going to be really useful, especially when you are playing these big tanks at the front. So yeah,
Yeah.
my
Who else has?
pick.
Is it the blanket guy? The blanket guy has it, right?
Warrior Peace.
I think
Oh
that's the
yeah,
blanket guy.
yeah, that's the blanket guy. He's got like a big. Does he like have a roll of like cloth or something in front of him? I don't know what that is. It a blanket? Is it a flag? Maybe. Sorry, I call him blanket guy. So
Snuggie.
But yeah, also yeah, I think with Ilthane with more speed, and it's got some the return fire as well, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You go. I feel like I can vamp on any of these cards. So
Okay. So my favorite. This life was the splinter I had the easiest time choosing. Evelyn. She plays so well with the current life meta. Whether you're running with any of the summoners, Ilthane or Wraith, in particular Wraith, it's another immunity monster. She's self-protected via the thorns. That's amplified even further with somebody like Wraith, and then the repair is obviously always necessary and great with life, and then inspires just very, very useful. That was the clear winner for me, and it's only 5 mana and massive shield.
And you can play it with Aves Sturgis as well, right?
Is that the weapons training?
Yeah.
you could play. So with weapons training, you could play your conjurer, Abbess Sturgis, and then Evelyn, right? And then
Yeah.
both those guys are going to get the magic attack, and you've got like 2 pretty good support cards that are now doing damage. So that'll be a fun play.
For
Also
13
quite low
mana.
mana.
Yeah,
13 mana.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you toss them in the middle of your lineup and Evelyn at the back, perhaps. Outside of a poison from Uraeus, she's going to be flinging magic and repairing and immune. She's immune.
Yeah,
that's a perfect Uraeus.
How many immunity cards are we going to give to life? As we just give all these immunity cards to life? Come on, it's not fair.
Hey, death has its fair share of immunity.
That's true.
Yeah. All right, man. Take us home, Hep. What was your pick?
I really like I'm glad you guys left this for me. I really like the Imperial Knight. That is an awesome tank. I think Life has some very good tanks. I mean, Pelipper Conjurer obviously being one of them, but like, what do you do when you've got a little more mana cap than you can use, or a little more extra mana there? And do you want to play the Pelipper Conjurer? Do you want to go, with one of the other cards? Maybe you don't have as much to play. Uriel. Do you really want to go with the Chaos Knight? Maybe if you think the Giant Killer is going to be in handy. But so to me, this is just like, and what's the other 3 mana life card for
the Reflector?
Yeah, the magic, the Reflector. Yeah. So Blinding Reflector, yeah. So I like that card, but then it's like you kind of got to play him, with Wraith, right? Because otherwise he's just too successful. The magic, goes right through the shield. So, Void Armor, Holy Protection, Self Heal, 7 mana, the 7 and 9. I feel like this is, and then this guy gets going to get a Magic Reflect up at level 9 and 10. Like, yeah, I feel like this is a card too. I think it's got to be nerfed. I feel like the 16 health, 16 total. When you look at it with the void armor, it's really, that's a 16. That's really high. That's really, really high. So I think, one or both of those numbers will come down. I wouldn't surprise to see him be more of like a 5 shield or something, or maybe like a 6 or 7 health after everything's said and done. But yeah, that's like if you've got the space for it, like that's a great card to play as your life tank, and yeah, so that's a card I'm excited about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
like
agree.
seeing.
I think with life as well, I'm always like a bit uncertain what to play as my main tank. Yeah, if I don't play the Conjurer, so I think this definitely answers that. Yeah, I think Chaos Knight is just a bit, yeah, just obviously weak to magic. This Imperial Knight as well. I'm just as you talk, I'm just thinking, just put the Conjurer behind him as well, even soak up some snipe, and he's in the front. So yeah, I like that. But always my thinking is just like if I put this guy in front, and then I'm just thinking the other guy most likely could play the Conjurer, and it's just like getting through the Conjurer, man. It's just like drives me crazy. So I just kind of that's why I probably end up playing the Conjurer more times and then trying to go another way via the Conjurer. No, sorry, not via the Conjurer.
That's why life is such a great deck for sneak attack. That's why that wild sneak attack, and even in modern, with the life leech, with the Uraeus, with the harpy, the celestial harpy. That was one of those cards that like even like a couple months ago, I was like always playing that card. I was like, I only have that card at like level like 3 or 4 or something like that. I really need to level that card up because um
What card
yeah,
is
there's
that you
just so
said?
many other avenues, to go with
The
life. And
harpy.
yeah,
Ah.
yes, or yeah, celestial harpy, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's for me, that's what can make life so strong is you can throw that conjurer up there and just go in through the back and the side and not worry about your front, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one more thought on the Imperial Knight. One of my favorite things about the Conjurer with the Life Squad is Adelaide's Resurrect, bringing back the Divine Shield. It's
Hmm.
such a pesky move, but it buys you 2-3 extra hits because not only does the Conjurer come back with a Divine Shield, but an additional armor and an additional health that is brought back with it. And the same is going to be true with the Imperial Knight. Just
Yeah.
super valuable, whether you bring Wraith or not. Yeah, Divine Shield plus an armor plus a hit point. It's 3 extra hits that one Resurrect brings you.
They should nerf Divine Shield, honestly. Like I hate to say it, but like it should not come back on Resurrect. I think like you should get it that once. It is so annoying when you get a Resurrect and you gotta, oh yeah, I gotta get through the Divine Shield again. So
Well, you
yeah,
you know what the answer is to Divine Shield. Yep,
Dallin's cripple.
nailed it. That a boy. That a boy. I'm glad you didn't let me down that time, Hep. Well done. So speaking of Dallin's cripple, let's talk everybody's favorite Splinter, Death. Um,
Everyone's favorite Splinter except for Devin Creative.
yes. Although I'm hoping we're about a week away from the legendary summoner, and hopefully we see that narrative start to shift. Because as much as I want to say that I love Dallin, I do really like Dallin in certain rule set, in certain contexts. I think Cripple does need a buff. It doesn't make sense to me that Cripple doesn't expand beyond the singular monster in blast rule sets. But Thaddeus is okay. My go-to summoner for Death now is Lux, 100% of the time.
That's one of the main reasons why I bought it. I always said like looking at legendary summers, I'm like I would take as the Death legendary summoner Kayla. I was like that would make Death so great, and then like you throw in the extra health, and you're like, yeah, oh yeah, I need that card.
Bingo. Yep.
For another thing for cripple, one thing I think I haven't heard this brought up, but what I would really want to see is, and the way they've changed it, I think immunity should not be, negate cripple. So like you think about it, like that was the most useful way for cripple to be very easily like. So immunity is to like I understand immunity to poison, I understand it to like these different effects that are like spells or potions or whatever. But if they're talking about, the way they described in the town hall, like, no, cripple is like broken bone, it's like a savage, brutal thing. Like, you can't be immune to that. You shouldn't be able to be immune to that. And so
Mm.
then you'd see, you know, that's one of the toughest things, like the Corrales plays. Um, is that card is just like with the heal and the immunity, it's just like so hard to beat in some rule sets. Um, and then, also like one of the biggest sneak protects you can have is like if you can get like in especially like a lot of those like all sneaks, I'll play a Harklaw on the back. Because he's immune to that cripple, he's immune to poison. Um, and he could just be like totally negated. Like if you had that, we're like, all right, well, he's getting the cripple's taking his life off at least. I think that would be a good way to make cripple better. And it would make sense within the lore of the game is that cripple should not be able to be protected against by immunity. So that's my
Yeah,
two cents.
I wonder that's a great call. I wonder if we'll see some death proponent player proposals coming to boost
Oh,
some
that's a
stock
good
for the
one.
likes of Dallin
Yeah, I'll
and
put that
Cripple
on my.
as a whole.
Yeah, I'll write that.
Cool.
I'll write it up if you pay the fee to get it put in.
Hey man, I will 100% contribute. We can start a DEC GoFundMe. All right. Well, I think it goes without saying that Death was blessed with the best name in the game, Wile E. Coyote. I think for you Looney Tunes fans out there, Wascal, Wiley, the nod to Wile E. Coyote, I think was fantastic. And before they nerfed this guy,
Oh,
he was unreal.
He was Des Pellicore Conjurer with the dodge, 2 mana.
And
Yes, we
phase
got
and
one. Finally, we
six
got one.
speed. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
Even
buffed the
still,
dodge out.
yeah.
Oh,
Even without the dodge, I think it's a fantastic card because the phase is great. We've seen phase work to a great degree with the likes of a nightmare, for example. But yeah, okay. With that out of the way, why don't Wasco? Why don't you kick us off? What's your favorite of the Death Bunch?
Um, well, again, not necessarily my favorite, but the one I most likely will play the most. So maybe that could. Some people might argue that would be my favorite, but maybe not like looking the most OP. But I'm going for Ravenhood Warden. I just like him. In low mana, high mana. I just feel I could use him all the time. He he's a rare card. He's straight off the bat. He's got protect, which you guys, you know, are big Lux fans, and I just think this is something that I've been crying out for, begging that Death can get. So the fact that they can have protect is fantastic, and inspire. When he gets inspire, I just think that's gonna be so useful for so many cards, and the fury as well. So 4 mana, he's going to be hitting some of the big boys, those taunts with 4 as well. But I just think it's inspire. I think he can, so many, Curse Windaku can benefit. Who else? Arachnothug, you got that lady in the second place with the trample. Shadow Snitch, Harklaw as well. And I think with the Gladius cards, like you got Zulax and Trap Fallaway for the Gladius cards that will help it for like those, Trap Fallaway. Bejangles uses him all the time with Inspire with him. He's going to be hitting, I think he's going to be hitting like with 5 each time. And with that new summoner as well, it kind of reduces, yeah, yeah. If okay, I'm just thinking if I play him with Trap Fallaway weakens the health, and the new summoner, the reward summoner, Octavia, um, she also brings weaken as well. So I think the combination of these three could be pretty lethal.
Hep.
yeah, I've got not. I really want to diverge here, but I gotta say I love the Raven Gravenhood Warden. I just immediately, as soon as I saw this card, I immediately saw him in my death lineup. I think when they first came out, he had camouflage too, which I was like, that's
Ooh.
awesome. Even without the camouflage too, with the protect, the inspire, yeah. I mean, you want your Curse Windiku up front. I want to play him. I see him, playing him immediately. I saw him, playing him in front of my Blight, playing my Weirding Warrior in there. Really gonna take your Curse Windiku to a next level. I mean, look at this guy. He looks like he wants to hang out with a Weirding Warrior. You even see him hanging out together. They both got the beaks. They're gonna be hanging out in the archery range. They're gonna be, gossiping about like the stupid Pelacro Arbalist, like talking about how he's hooking up with the Venari Crystal Smith or whatever. They're out there talking trash. They're hanging out, like they're gonna be best friends. Like I'm gonna love to play those cards together. Yeah, like really good. Just like love it. I love my low mana cards. I love that. That 4 mana will fit in nicely with Little League rule set. Would have been better if Wile E. Coyote could have been that tank up front with the dodge, but still maybe play him or you play him with the Curse Beetle. Yeah, I like that card a lot. I gotta agree.
Mm. Yeah, I had a really tough choice with Death. Warden was on my list, Kaioshin was on my list, and this is the first Splinter that I have chosen the legendary as my favorite. I love seeing the Resurrect come into play with the Skoke Duskblight. And this is the first one that really excites me with the weapons training. I love the idea of having, something like a Riftwing and a Chaos Agent, or a Riftwing and an Almo running side by side with these guys, or with this guy, and picking up some magic attack. And yeah, the Chaos Agent is one that I was my very first thought when we kind of understood the mechanics of weapons training. Just bringing the Chaos Agent one additional mana for an attack from either ranged or magic is just, it's tough to beat. Chaos Agent's already a fantastic card.
Yeah.
But now you can have a snipe protect that's flinging one magic for 1 mana. It's tough to beat. And the Resurrect coming in for Death is great. I think there's only one other Death card, the what's his name? The Ancient Lich.
Yeah.
And I think I have one BCX of that. So I've never played Death with a Resurrect.
He only gets it in Diamond too, right?
Yeah, I think that's his level.
Yeah,
he's a
4.
legendary, so I think that's his level 4 ability acquisition.
So that's one thing I do want to bring up with Death. Another complaint against the team's hatred of Death in general. I think there's certain abilities that should go with certain splinters, like, and I understand they want to mix it up, give everybody everything, and that makes sense because it makes for a more fun game. But like, I think you saw this more in like the earlier card sets with like a lot of the fire cards have the exploding sort of thing. But like Resurrect should be a Death ability. We should be able to get a Death card with Resurrect, not at diamond level. Like we should be able to get it in gold level or in silver level. Like, so many of those life cards have, I guess it makes sense for life too, but like it also makes sense for Death. But to bring that point more general, like look at these Death cards. What's missing? What ability is missing here? I don't know if this jump.
I was hoping for a cleanse.
Well, yeah, you're always hoping for a cleanse, but again, it kind of makes, Death should be more poison and less cleanse because it's Death, right? But where's martyrdom? If it makes sense for one Splinter to get a bonus in an ability when a card dies, shouldn't it be Death? There's no martyrdom card here. Every other Splinter has one, right? Every Splinter but Death has a martyrdom card, not Death.
What's up, Nate? Calling you out twice on this episode.
The one way this works for me personally, my personal emotions and feelings, are they giving it to the Death Legendary Summoner?
I don't. So I've thought about this a lot, and we've heard folks say maybe Reflection Shield is coming in as an ability. I hope that they construct all of the legendary summoners for Chaos Legion with only abilities that were available for at the beginning of Chaos Legion. I would be disappointed if, as much as I would love to see that come to death, I would be disappointed if that were the case. Just for the sake of continuity.
Omission, then. I get what you're saying. I think that's right. That makes total logical sense, and I do agree with that. But then, like, why can't like the Wily Coach and are you going to take the dodge? Like, why can't one of these cards have it? Why do none of these cards have it? Why? Is it
maybe the thought
attack,
is the resurrect?
What's that?
And within the context of this set, it kind of makes sense, but within the context of the greater modern universe, it doesn't make sense. But within the context of this reward set, Death is also the only Splinter that is getting a Resurrect card. And maybe the combination of Resurrect and Martyrdom is something that they were trying to avoid. But like we all us aficionados of the Death Splitter have grown accustomed to doing, you have to complement with somebody like a Dragon or somebody like a neutral, and we do have a Martyrdom neutral card that's available. So maybe that was the thought process. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think you're definitely right, Hep. Just like why only Death? Why are you picking on them? I think it would make sense to have it in that with that new summoner.
It would make sense.
And I'm upset, and I wonder if that, because that's one thing I thought of too. Because when like last week at the town hall, they're like, "Well, we don't have the Death summoner, stats for you yet." And I was like, "Well, why not?" I was like, and then I was like, well, then I saw these cards. I was like, well, maybe if they're gonna do it, maybe that's why. Maybe they're testing it out, because this is a new ability. They're kind of just coding into the test server, right? So maybe they just put it in, and maybe they're testing it out to see how it works. I don't know. I just think this is, it kind of stinks. It kind of stinks to not have it.
And there's only 175,000 packs left before we get that new Death Summoner. So yeah, I was really surprised as well. I was surprised it wasn't even out before the last one.
Well, we've heard time and time again that 500,000 is the mark. Maybe the team has shifted its philosophy since we've been burning through those packs, but I feel like the rule should still apply where we hit that halfway mark. We should be, that's a great way to generate pack sales also. If, you release those stats earlier, you're more likely to get folks excited and hyped and, buying complimentary cards from, or I guess acquiring complimentary cards for that upcoming legendary summoner. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is without, we had the same thing with Immortalis. It was like the day before the drop happened. Pacifilis was a little bit more effectively managed. But I think the last time we had legendary summoner stats going into the second half of that million pack sale requirement was Yasik, and that was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying to think who would we're talking about the Resurrect, which out of the current Death would benefit from that.
So my first thought, and Hep, feel free to chime in, was one of the Dragon or neutral guys, another Resurrect to be able to play with Agor. So you'll have Oshur and Dusk Blight, and also Legionnaire. Those were my first thoughts.
Because no one else has really got high shields, have they? It's all like 3s and 4. I think 4 is the highest shield. I suppose if you have the Raven, then you get a little bit extra. Sorry, Hep, yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean the Jin Marat is could be helpful. I mean, that's a card I like to play as a tank if it's, the no melee cards, or now we have the magic only cards, or the magic only rule sets. That's definitely a card I like to play, with the void armor and the magic reflect. Also the knockout and giant killer. I mean, that's such a great card. Especially even at gold level. Um, so yeah, that could be one. But yeah, there really isn't a lot of stuff that pairs really well with it.
Yeah,
With
I
death, I
think
mean,
that, yeah,
you don't have the heals and stuff, right? You don't have the heals or the cleanses with death to really benefit that much from the resurrect like you do with the life splinter.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think also another special interesting mention is that possessed puppet. I'm just thinking about her in there, like the opportunity rule set.
Yeah.
6 speed, 4 attack, but she hits double strike. Wow.
Cripple.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those. So that's the thing. You don't even need Dallin because it's like you've got all these cripples. You got that, and you've got the big snake. It's already got your cripple going for you.
Mm.
It's like with Waka, like you've got Blight, you've got Uraeus, um, you've got
Soul Strangler has poison at the higher
the
levels.
Venari Bonesmith, Soul Strangler. There's that other in Wild. There's the Spider Archer card that has a poison. Like Death already has so much poison in it. It's like yeah, Walk is nice. It can be useful, but at the same time, if you can already spread it around enough, you don't really need it. You don't absolutely need to have it in your deck to have a winning hand. So, um,
Mm.
I
yeah,
think also that bloodlust on Usat. I'm looking at him, the legendary card. That's something that, and they get. I wonder if they get bloodlust straight from the off, but I know they get flying straight from the off. But
yeah.
that's going to be a interesting play as well.
That'll be a fun card to play with your Cthulhu's. Just kind of like those twin tower giant magic firing slow beasts. Like that'll be real fun in reverse speed rule sets to
Mm.
have those two guys going. And that's like I have that ancient leech card. I play them pretty much only play it in reverse rules speed rule sets. Um, yeah, because that's when it really can be effective because they can just start getting life off of people right away. It's a low health card, so yeah, that or in the kind of the where everybody gets the same health rule sets too. That can be useful.
Mm. I'm a little surprised we haven't talked about the Will-O-Wisp. It is a great kind of complementary card to the Death Squad with the weekend and the silence, and uh, I think within the last couple of months I've really become aware of how powerful blind is, and with the likes of somebody like Lux where you're boosting speed, a Lyra who's boosting speed, and then you toss there's a couple of options with bringing blind to the table for death. One being the recharge. What is that guy? The warlock, insidious warlock,
Insidious,
or
yeah.
which I very very seldom play.
Mhm.
Just A, it's recharge, and B, it's kind of a pricey. I think it's 5 or 6 mana.
Yeah.
And then the what's his face? The 3 neutral spirit hoarder uh,
Spirit.
brings blinds, but having an in-house valuable blind option for death is a great addition to what is already within the death meta.
And what you were saying before about pairing up stock Duskblight with Chaos Agents, you got that option as well, right? To
Yeah.
add Will-O-the-Wisp to the mix.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Death is a great one. I'm not particularly, I suppose Wily Coyote in the lower mana sets, but I would just say, yeah, I suppose I'm Possessed Puppet. They're definitely selective rule sets where you would use them, but yeah, the others, yeah, I could see me using them a lot.
Yeah, I think Will-O-Wisp is another one too that'll be really helpful in poison matches and noxious fume matches. I think Death is great in noxious fumes.
Because of the
So
high health, you mean?
the high health and the
The
weaken. I mean,
weekend.
you play Thaddeus, you got -1 health. You play that, you got another negative health. You got Harklaw and Revealer who both have immunity. You can play your Kinjo who's got immunity in the back. You can play your Blight, which will get scavenge. You can play
And
your like throw a
blight
curse.
at the highest levels has weekend also.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Or
throw a cursed slime ball into those matches too to just kind of if people don't have a shield up, you can just even get them down a little bit more. I mean, in Wild too, I love to play the Undead Priest to go another weekend. Cthulhu has a weekend in it too, so if it's a really high mana match, you can throw your Cthulhu in there to get even more weekend. I mean, you could be, you know, playing like 2 or 3 cards with immunity, that card with a high health and dropping their health by 3. So yeah, that's like kind of immediately where my mind goes, where just that's got like such that high health and that weekend there, that'll be useful. And a lot of times
Mm.
people like to play Magic in I mean, I like to play Magic in Noxious Few matches because you want to try to get people's health low as soon as possible, get underneath their shields. And he's got the silence. So yeah, that's for that rule set. I think that's where I'll use that card the most.
Yeah,
good
I
point.
think
Yeah.
that's a great card to it boosts the value of Thaddeus in my mind, right there. You're dropping health and dropping magic attack. Okay. Any other comments on death, fellas?
Nope.
All right. So dragon and neutral. I went ahead and I don't know what you guys did, but I lumped these. We've got 1, 2, 7 cards in total here. I lumped them all together and chose a couple of them that I felt like I would be playing most often as my favorites. Um, why don't you
Right.
guys kick us off?
Well, why don't you kick us off if you've gone with
All right.
that idea?
So I think this choice surprised myself the most of any of these new reward cards, and I never thought I would be picking one with this ability, and I think you guys are taking a look and probably having a good idea of what I'm going to select here. But the Gobson Bomber, I think, is a very great card, dropping 9 attack, ranged attack from a camo position with piercing and fury every other turn. This guy is just he's going to light teams up, and especially in like a blast rule set. I think one of the biggest drawbacks with recharge is, A, it's recharge, but B, if it's hitting a shield, you have to wait 2 turns before it's striking again. Well, now all of a sudden you're going around that, and especially if you're hitting a taunt, all of a sudden you're going to be doing 18 damage. This is just going to destroy any taunt in the game. I Yeah, I love that card. Love that card. It's a common, which is fantastic. Uh, Close second, Clockwork Gate. I think just super versatile. Toss it in just about every team. It's gonna help out. But yeah, the Gobson Bomber was my sneaky favorite of these dragon neutral cards.
All right. Sorry, I thought you said you put them with the dragon. Okay. Um, like for a combo. Yeah, I was with you. I chose this one as well. I kind of had a good look through them, but yeah, just all the things that you mentioned. I think the fact that sometimes if you get a recharge monster as well, they are generally low health, so the chance of them getting picked off with a opportunity is definitely there. But the fact that it's camo, he can just be sitting behind blights. Oh yeah. I think I'm just more disappointed that he hasn't got any blast with that artwork. He needs to. It would be great if he had some blast to go with it, but yeah, I'm with you in that one. Gobson Bomber for me. What about you, Hep?
Yeah, so this was kind of a tough one. The dragon cards, I mean, the 1 mana dragon card here, the Karak Shock. I don't know how are you going to pronounce that. Um, that seems like it's a great card to throw in. The scavenge kind of helps, but then with no attack at the end. Um, I really like the Venari Muskrat. Again, I like to have those low mana cards, something you could throw maybe in the back row. It's got the shatter, it's got the snare, it's got the martyrdom. So, if I need to get through a shield, it's a really good like one use card you can throw in your back row and just hope it just gets that one attack off. And even if it gets killed after round one, then your Dr. Blight's got, an extra magic, going forward. But I think really settling on the kind of for the same reason, the orc here. Just those when you're going sneak attack and some of those old school, have those beta cards with the shield, the retaliate. Those are tough cards to go up against in your back row. I think that one will be really useful. That with the thorns, having the shield and the retaliate, I think makes it a really good, useful sneak protect card. So I'm going to go with that one.
Have you
I'm always
guys
cautious
heard?
about.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just always cautious about Uraeus coming though, and yeah, that play is great with thorns and retaliates, but you just need one hit from Uraeus with that poison, and good night, Vienna.
Yeah, but he can, if the retaliate goes off, you'll have the thorns first and then the retaliate. So that kills Uraeus, right there.
Oh,
So yeah, I
yeah.
mean, you got to get the retaliate to go off, right? But you got to hope that, the RNG is at least balanced out where if they get the poison off, you get the retaliate and you can take them out. So that's another thing. It's one of those ones where you just got to kind of, put your hope and your faith in the RNG and see what happens. But yeah, I think that'll be a fun one to play, especially if you get those where those the equalizer rule sets where all the health is equal.
Mm.
That could be, just devastating to someone's plan of attack with who's trying to go sneak on you.
Mm. Yeah, I do like the muskrat also. Both the muskrat and the bomber as complements to Fernheart are great tools.
Yeah.
So what I was going to mention is the 1 mana dragon card Krar Sock. I'm curious for weapons training. If you put this guy in the middle of two weapons training monsters, does he pick up a double attack? Like if you've got a magic weapons trainer in front and a ranged weapons trainer in back, is that
Something that I was
possible?
wondering as well. I don't know yet. Don't know.
That's interesting.
Because so you could throw Barrack Snake Eye behind, and you could throw Skok Duskblight in front, and all of a sudden you've got weapons training coming from both sides. And all of a sudden that's a very dangerous card with camo scavenge. Not to mention the silence.
Yeah, I haven't seen that addressed yet. That's interesting. I wonder if it'll be one of those things where, like in the game, usually it's like the card in front. Like if you have, equal health, it'll always go after the card in front. If it's an opportunity card. So I wonder if it'll be decided that way, where that card in front will take precedent. But then, if the card in front dies, maybe the card in back kicks in. But having them both kick in that'll be interesting. That'd be really interesting. Because the way it's supposed to work is it's supposed to give attack to a card that does not have attack. So that's why I wonder if it'll go through the cards and say, all right, the card in front of it gave it an attack. So then when it gets to the card behind it, it'll say that card already has an attack. I can't give it an attack. I just don't know how it's coded,
Yeah. Well, worthy town hall question there.
Some great camo cards in the game, right? I'm just thinking that 1 mana dragon cards. You got Blights, and you got this Gobson Bomber as well. But I like that dragon 1 mana card with a scavenge. That's a great one. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just kind of reflecting at each of the splinters. Is there one that you guys feel like is is potentially a clear winner of the bunch?
I'm thinking Death or Earth, but that's mainly because of Thane News Song, to be honest.
I think water. I think the way that they've been able to balance it, like you said, with the Impossibilist, like that Coastal Sentry is, just made Impossibilist a card you'd actually want to play now. And having the giant killer in there, the Musa Sally, and again, a low amount of scavenge cards, like love that. Noah the Just as like a back row. I mean, yeah. I to me, that's like if you had to say you can get, I'll give you all 6 cards of any splinter right now. Which do you want? Um, I think I take water.
No. Well, you so I was gonna say fire. I feel like fire is getting loaded up this reward round, and maybe I'm a little bit biased just by the I really love that low mana taunt and what she's gonna bring to the table for Team Fire. But yeah, I guess the moral is the argument could be made for any of the splinters. Just which one tickles your fancy, I suppose.
I think, there's loads that we haven't, well, not loads, but there's a few we haven't even mentioned. Even Life's got a new taunt as well, right? And yeah, there's some excellent cards. I think just another tip of the hat to the team as well. This is what, like you say, you can argue all day about which splinter comes out the best, and that is kudos to the team, right? That they've kind of managed to balance things out. And before you say it, Hep, I know about the martyr for Death. They haven't really balanced that out so far. Time will tell.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting because I know Death. Nate has mentioned on more than one occasion that Death is his personal favorite splinter. Also, maybe there's something to it there where he's not trying to show favoritism to Death, so he's therefore presenting underwhelming cards. But I think it's Matt that actually does all the stat allocation, right, and ability allocation. So I don't know.
Even the summoners. I mean, so the Octavia Shadow Meld, the Death Summoner, when that first came out, it had that -1 melee, which was like great. That's a really good summoner thing to have. And I guess it's probably the beta Death summoner.
So Zintar something.
Zintar Mortarus, yeah, and Cryptmancer. Both of those cards are the -1 melee, which are really nice, and they pair well with Death with some of the demoralize you can do, especially with Heartclaw and the Kabbalist. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's dope. But then they nerfed that to just a -1 health, and I was like, yeah. I was talking with our buddy Jay Nix on Discord about these cards a little bit today too, and when he saw the Death summoner, he's like, they really just don't want to give Death a good summoner in Modern, which I think that is actually a really, really good summoner. I like the -1 magic and the negative health. I think it's a great summoner, but I think that's kind of been the issue, is that they've kind of, Kayla and Thad were really good, strong summoners in the Chaos Legion set, and so they've kind of tried to walk that back a little bit going forward with everything else on the summoner side. So we'll see. Hopefully we get something. Maybe we get something really awesome for the legendary, and we forget all about it. But
what's your, like, if they did give the new summoner Martyr, like, how do you think they would work it? Would they just give it to one of the card, like the card at the back? Like, how could they do it?
I think it would have to be every card, right? I mean, that's the way the summoner works. It's supposed to give every card martyrdom, right? So,
well, cleanse Llama has cleanse, and it's just applied to
just the front row. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's how cleanse always works, though, right? So, I mean, Martin's supposed to give it to the adjacent cards. So, yeah, maybe it gives it only the first card. Maybe,
or like, what's the life, the Untamed Life legendary summoner? Chancius.
Chances.
He's got resurrect, and not only procs once.
Only,
So
yeah.
maybe it's just the first monster that dies delivers martyrdom or something like
Yeah.
that.
That would be cool. I'd take that. I mean, hey, I'd take that.
I hope not. I don't want to see any of the new abilities be introduced on Chaos Legion.
Save them for rebellion, you mean?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So so just thinking of Chaos Legion abilities and obviously prior Hep, if you were the 10,000 pack purchaser and Nate and Cryptomancer called you to help design Astral Entity, what abilities would you, within reason, what abilities would you hope for?
Oh man, that's tough. I'm just like looking through all like what are the let's look at the Chaos Legion only. A little more focused legendary summoners.
I mean, it's got to be
It's
something that's not chosen yet, right?
right, yeah. So it's and that's the thing. I was hoping that Shatter would be in the Death Summoner, and then they gave that to Earth. Um, again, another thing I was hoping it would be great to have Piercing in Death. They gave that to Fire. Amplify would be awesome. I mean, all that's the thing is all these things would be awesome. Like, what's the one? What are some of the abilities they haven't give out? What if they couldn't give everybody Scavenge, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to do Rust, I think. I think it's going to be Rust. Uh, I mean, Life Leech would be awesome, but I think that'd be too OP. I mean, I would love to have a tank heal. I think it'll be Rust. It's got to be Rust. Like if I had to put any money on it being any ability, it'd be Rust. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
well, let me
yeah.
throw this out there. So,
Let me say what you
Astral
got.
Entity is a being of the stars, right?
Okay.
So I'm envisioning some sort of lore where he's a or she it is a fallen life character, um, or something from the celestial scape. And I am thinking, what if we get a divine shield? If we bring something from life's
Hey,
pocket with like Lorna, bringing divine shield into to death.
I'd take that. I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I
man.
mean, but that's the thing. Does that then, yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome. Does that, will they do that though? Are they gonna, we haven't seen them do that. We haven't seen them want to really diminish those dice summoners by giving that ability to other summoners.
Mm.
Um, because
Well,
that's a
they
thing.
gave
Yeah, so that's yeah.
they've got like
Well,
they gave piercing to Conqueror Jack, right, from
That's true.
Quidioth.
And they'd have to quit you up. That's true. So yeah, there's
yeah.
Um,
precedent for it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll take it.
I wonder if like -2 speeds, you got Jasic with +2 speed. I wonder if like a -2 speed would work.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
they've done a good job of kind of countering each other with the Chaos Legion summoners. And I feel like the next counter has got to be to Yasik, and maybe that's through a minus speed and divine shield.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely, what if they give it shield? I mean, shield or rust or, yeah. Giving all your cards shield, that'd be interesting. That would be pretty good.
Well, now that
But
we've got the Ravenwood, uh, uh, a Raven Hood warden.
Yeah.
Yeah, divine shield would be my. Yeah, I've just got I think I speak for all of us in saying we've got really big hopes for a legitimately legendary summoner to kind of round us out with Team Death next week.
It's gonna be bad. I just know I'm already like mentally preparing myself for it to be a disappointment. I'm just like,
Oh
I
no,
can't
hell.
keep the hopes up. I'm sorry.
Oh, I
I'm setting
hope
my
you're wrong.
expectations low.
Well,
Well,
you've
I
got
think we
Lux
know it
to
won't
bounce back
be
on.
OP, right? It won't be. They've not made any kind of too crazy, overpowering, and I don't know. Or maybe some people could argue Wraith is, I know Bjangles Wraith is your yeah. Oh yeah. So that's another question. What from the current legendary summoners, Hep? Which ones do you feel have been the best?
I mean, even though I'm not a huge life splinter guy, I think Wraith has been really good. I haven't played with Immortalis yet. I really, 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 really want it. But it kind of coincided with they've been saying that drop in price with a lot of wild cards. And every time I went to buy it, I was like, well, there's a Ruler of the Seas gold level for about the same price or slightly more. And um, I got a Kraken I was gonna buy it the other day, and then I got a Kraken because the Kraken was at like 21 per BUCX. So now it's like that's just too good of a steal to pass up. Yeah, I mean Wraith is probably I think sticks out as the bet, but I think Immortalis is great. I think we're gonna see it a lot more. Having the shatter to kind of counteract a lot of the void armor and taunts that are becoming more common in the game. I think that's going to take its place kind of like right along with their with Wraith. I think Wraith just pairs so well with Pelacor Conjurer, right? Like a life is Pelacor Conjurer now. Like that's gonna, that's your tank you want to play and play a bunch of great stuff behind it. I mean, it works so well. It's hard to argue against. So, and I think that card just pairs so well with that, with the amplify and giving it the extra shield and the void armor and yeah, so I mean, Wraith I think is definitely so far hands on the winner. I think, and Yasik I think is an awesome card too. I hate to see that thing come out, especially in like a back to basics rule set or something like that, where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're just screwed. But the speed is just, with the Coral Lurker and things like that, it's just the speed can just be overwhelming. So yeah, it's two speed is just it's pretty gnarly. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I was just going to say real quickly. I think Immortalis. I put him right there neck and neck with Wraith. Um, just being able to I'll take the defensive minded summoner over the offensive every time and kind of plan accordingly from there. And I think being able to mute one attack almost entirely through either void armor plus armor and void is yeah, a great attribute for the team and allows you to kind of plan from there.
I think also like with what I noticed with Immortalis, like it when you play against the magic, it's just becomes so useless, right? But with maybe like with demoralize, because no summoners have demoralize, right? So you with Immortalis, you just nerf a good part of someone's lineup pretty much straight away. But with Grandmaster Wraith, maybe not so much. But I mean, in terms of melee, so that's why I kind of just really like Immortalis.
Yeah, I think especially those rule sets where you just have Earth to play with, or it seems very likely that your opponent's going to play Earth, and um, it's great to have, right? Because you can again negate some of that magic attack. Yeah, it's good. It's a really good card.
Well, we played a match last night, me and Bjangles, and I used the Immortalis, and you used the Dragon Summoner for phase, and like someone like Kiora was just apart from the melee, she was just like just useless.
Mm.
Well, useless on my team. On your team, she was rolling.
Yeah,
I think
sorry, yeah.
she got up to like five magic, five melee.
We
Cool.
won't talk about the how high she got when I played against you with Cura a few matches later. What was she up to? Like +9?
10 and 10, 11, 11. Yeah. All right,
Beasts.
boys. Any parting words of wisdom from either Hep or Wasco? We've man, we covered the gamut.
We didn't talk about I think you wanted to talk about the summoners, didn't you, Bijangles? but I'm not too sure. Like for me personally, about having favorites, but I do love that the arts for the Death Octavia Shadow meld. I just think that's a great character, and I think maybe she will be my yeah, one of my favorites just because of the -1 health.
I love Donkey Kong, Lob Lowland. And you kind of touched on it earlier. I feel like Earth, and this is going back to what I believe is Earth versatility, being able, they're great in slow reverse speed. You can lean into Obsidian and throw magic real heavy. They're great in fast. You can go with somebody like the force field slow on the mycelic slip spawn and a bunch of fast melee. And then you can go really heavy with the range on Fernheart, obviously. But I feel like Lob Lowland is a great one with, you can throw the Fiend in there for slow, you could throw the slip spawn in for slow, and then throw a couple of especially in brawls, being able to get those I think they're sisters or cousins or something, the Gobson, Team Gobson, the opportunity and sneak monster, and really lean into the speed meta that's already kind of taken over the game. But I feel like Earth is just adding melee as one of its strengths, with Donkey Kong there, Lowland.
Nice.
Anything stick out to you, Hep?
No, I think these guys are just leaning, more on the Gladius. It's going to be really interesting. As I was talking to you guys before, I'm in the gold foil brawls, in my guild, so I don't even like pay attention to any of my Gladius cards that aren't gold foils. But so to like get up to speed with those and even figure out which ones I have and need to combine and level up, yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna change a lot. It's gonna change a lot in the game, adding those in. So, yeah, it's gonna be like, is it worth the mana to have them in, or do you just kind of go with your four or five mana summoners and is it going to be worth that extra mana? Because a lot of those Gladius cards too are other high mana cards. So is it just going to be something that only comes out more better play in higher mana matches, or is it going to be worthwhile to try to sneak them in? It's just going to be a lot of these little wrinkles where are you going to expect a bloodlust to come out or not? I mean, we've all seen sort of what some of those stronger, the Jared Scars. And your boy the Grum Flame Blades, how those can kind of turn a match around. So to kind of get that worked into possibility of having that in almost every match is going to be interesting.
And up to 3 in brawls if we get the conscript rule set plus one of the conscript summoners. You can have three Gladius cards in your lineup.
Okay, so is that how it's going to work in brawls? You can have those, and there's really interesting. Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Yeah.
It will be a while before we will see them in the like the higher, like the golds and even the silvers, right? By the time it takes people to level those up. But I mean, maybe it will give us time also just to improve our Gladius cards as well, right?
Yeah. It's not going to be like with the 3 rule sets where they're going to immediately make it 75% of your matches are going to have it. They will be able to ease into it more reasonably.
Excellent. Well, Hep, been an absolute pleasure, man. We've missed having you around the People's Guild. Good to see you back on the other side of this mic and on this episode. So appreciate you taking time out of your evening to stop on by, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Love being here. Love to give my my manifesto in defense of ranked battles. So, that's my takeaway for everybody. Go play some, fall back in love with ranked battles again, everybody. Put the bots down just for a little bit. Go play some ranked battles. You got to do it now. If you want to be, more competitive in tournaments and brawls, you got to get those reps in. So go play some ranked battles, have some fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you make a good point. I think it's probably one of the areas of my game that I kind of feel I need to probably improve as well. It's like and I think playing more ranked battles. Man, you give me the inspiration.
Nice.
Back on it before. Well, we've got the brawls to throw in today as well, right? So,
Wasco, you wanna put your money where your mouth is and transfer your Archmage token to my Hive account?
well, I didn't say turn off totally. Just like have a few games here or there. But yeah, it's been great having you on, man. I love talking through these cards. Maybe we should make it a regular thing whenever the new sets come out. It'd be great to have your perspective come on. I think like having someone who literally plays the game is it's valuable.
I know, that's what I was like, what are they gonna have me on? They have all these interesting, so many of these great people in the community on, like, what is my individual perspective I'm gonna bring? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's really simple, like, oh, I actually play the game still.
But it's nice.
No, thanks for having me, guys. I love it. I love you guys. Great, always great to chat.
Okay, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Okay, for all of you out there, you have been listening to
People's Guild.